All right, let's get right into it. There's a huge story developing around a plan for a military presence in major American cities, and you know what? It's already started. We're going to break it all down right now.
And hey, real quick, if you want more explainers that cut right through the noise, do me a favor and smash that like button. It really helps. Okay, let's go.
So, the big kind of shocking question on everyone's mind is this one. Is the U.S. military actually being deployed to take over American cities? I know, it sounds pretty wild. But let's look at what's happening on the ground. It all kicks off in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., which is now being positioned as the precedent, the successful test case for what might come next. Get this. Right now, there are nearly 2,000 National Guard troops deployed in Washington, D.C. as part of a presidential crime crackdown. That is a pretty significant military footprint inside a major U.S. city.
So you might be asking, why? Well, according to former President Trump, it's because D.C. had become, and I'm quoting here, a hellscape where people feared for their lives. That's the official justification.
And these aren't just troops hanging out on a base somewhere. No. They've been seen out and about, actively patrolling huge public areas like Union Station and the National Mall, right alongside local police. To really hammer the point home, the claim was made that D.C.'s crime problem was so bad, it might have been more violent than any other city in the world. I mean, that is a massive claim to back up a pretty massive action. But here's the thing, D.C. is just the beginning. The whole operation there is being framed as just step one in a much bigger nationwide plan.
So, here's the roadmap that's been laid out for us. First up, straighten out the nation's capital. Check.
What's step two? Chicago. It has been explicitly named as the very next city on the list, called a mess that they plan to go in and fix. And the tour doesn't stop in the Midwest. Step three, it's been suggested, is to help with New York. And as if that's not enough, while all this was being discussed, someone else in the room was reportedly heard mentioning Los Angeles. So we're potentially talking about a coast-to-coast strategy here. And just so we're all crystal clear, this isn't some vague idea. The direct quote was, "When we're ready, we'll go in and straighten out Chicago just like we did D.C." That sounds like a pretty clear statement of intent. Okay, so that's the plan and the justification for it. Now, let's do a little reality check. How do those dramatic claims actually stack up against the publicly available crime data? This is where it gets really interesting. On one hand, you have the claim of a hellscape. On the other, you have data showing that the violent crime trend in the city had already reversed, and sharply, before the troops ever arrived. And this chart really tells the story. You can see there was a big spike in violent crime back in 2023, for sure. But look at this year. The numbers were already well on their way down before this whole operation began. And it's not just one metric either. Carjackings, also down, back to pre-pandemic levels. And that key talking point, no homicides in a week, well, it turns out that had already happened multiple times this year before the deployment. So what does this all boil down to? Beyond the stats and the cities, this whole situation brings up a massive fundamental question about presidential power. And this quote right here, well, it gets right to the heart of the matter. The argument being made is, if I think it's a national emergency, I can keep troops there as long as I want. And that leads us to the core constitutional question here. Can a president deploy the U.S. military in American cities, potentially without the consent of local leaders, just by declaring a national emergency? I mean, that is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? And that's where I want to hear from you. Seriously, what's your take? Is this a necessary step to bring back law and order, or is it a dangerous overreach of federal power? Let me know what you think down in the comments. And that's the breakdown for today. If you want to stay looped in on the biggest stories with explainers that get straight to the point, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.